Welcome to this new episode of CX Punk Chat, ladies and gentlemen. This episode is brought to you in cooperation with the European Customer Experience Organization, an European-based organization to promote inclusion and diversity in customer experience world. It's still good to remember you guys the philosophy of this video blog. We are talking about pure punk nature. We want to promote individual freedom and anti-establishment view in the customer experience world. The format is one-to-one. It means one guest, two questions for one challenging customer management topic. Our guest today is Graham Hill. Welcome, Graham.
Thank you.
Graham is director at Optima and Partners and special advisor on data monetization at O2 Telefonica UK. He is also a founder member of the European Customer Experience Organization. Graham, first of all, tell us how you become passionate about customer experience.
That's a very good question, and it goes back about 20 years. So in the olden days, more than 20 years ago, I was very heavily involved in CRM. So marketing, sales, and service, all those interactions. But in the summer of 1998, on holiday in the south of France, I read a book that changed my life. And that book was The Experience Economy by Pine and Gilmore. And I read it through early in the morning, not to wake my family. And it was like a revelation. You suddenly realize that where CRM finished is where customer experience started. It's something that brought all those ideas in CRM and others together. And I've been involved in customer experience in one way, shape, or form, from a customer side, from an operational side, from a technology side, for the last 20 years. That was my moment when I suddenly got switched on to customer experience, and there's been no looking back since.
Okay, cool. It's a very similar experience because, you know, I had as well a background in telecommunications. So back, I did more or less 15, 18 years in telecommunications. And basically, I discovered, you know, the concept of customer experience when I was there. And I started, you know, to work on things like, you know, measuring the customer experience in telecommunications, understanding the moment of truth, etc. So,
Yeah.
and that was as well, I was so fascinated about the topic that I decided later, you know, to start my own company in this field. Graham, you know, usually the blog goes with two specific questions, but I'm really happy to have you as a guest today because you know, I follow your discussion in LinkedIn and are always very interesting and very challenging. We had also some interactions through, you know, the comments and the chats. So having you know, someone that really is in the field for more than 20 years. My question to you would be more, what do you see in the future? What do you see in the next year on a short, medium, and long terms in customer experience management? How, in your opinion, companies that today have customer experience management project will evolve? I know that is not really a direct question and a yes/no question, but I think yeah, really, since you are here, I really want to hear from you.
I think I always take the quote from Alan Kay, one of the founders of Apple in those days, where he famously said, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So my work is trying to invent the future of CX. And I think, to answer your question directly, I think there are four things that I think about where CX is going in the near future. And so it's a little bit further than that. And they're around rediscovering the customer, putting data into the heart of customer experience, using enabling technologies better, and then ultimately implementing and developing a value-driven CX. And I'll pick up each one of those very quickly in turn. So the first one is decide about how do we rediscover the customer. So if I look at a lot of CX work today, it actually isn't about the customer experience at all. It's about companies and their products. You don't map customer journeys. You map company pathways. How do I do credit card onboarding rather than how do I help customers get access to short-term loans? So that first thing around rediscovering the customer, probably using tools like Jobs to be Done and outcome-driven innovation created by Tony Ulrich at Strategen, where I was his partner in the past, provides a much better way to understand who is the customer, what are they trying to do, and of course from that you can go to how can you help them, how to help them profitably. The second thing was around data. A lot of CX people, in my experience, are a little bit frightened of data. So they map out all their nice journeys, but the journeys aren't representative because they're too simplistic. They aren't actionable because they're too not enough detail. And the devil is in the detail. The devil requires data. So rather than journey mapping, I much prefer to have journey analytics. So we gather real data back because what real customers have really done, we can abstract out customer journeys from that data. We can augment it with additional information from design research, but data needs to become the heart of tomorrow's CX. If you have data, then you need technology. So one of the things I also see is that there's often a disconnect between today's customer experience and the journey maps and the application of modern technology, by which I mean real-time interaction management technology or journey orchestration technology like Thunderhead's technology, which is a leading in its class. And in the future, we move towards conversational commerce technology, which is starting out in chatbots today, but will become more endemic over time as that technology matures and passes the Turing test. If we do these three things, we discover the customer, add data to the experience, use enabling technology, then we have a good chance of turning CX into something that drives value. A lot of CX programs that I see today, first of all, don't work, so they don't succeed. 80% is my estimate from what I've seen, for a variety of reasons. And one of the biggest reasons you can't show they create shareholder value. You can't show they create cash flow. They're just a nice idea that people believe in passionately to do with the customer. But at the end of the day, the customer's not paying for all this, shareholders are paying. But shareholders are paying your wages as a CX person. So you have to show how CX drives value. If you can do those three things, I think that will come out of that. So those four things for me are where CX is going.
Very good. I have a provocative question, Graham, because I'm totally with you with basically the four points you mentioned. But don't you think that these ideas and basically the topics you brought in putting together these four points is much more than customer experience? Don't you think is something, and this is my personal point of view for the future, is something more in the direction of building a customer intelligence, so building something that basically complete the business intelligence and generates something, a view, the missing view that we have in business intelligence, having really a tight control, as you said, over customer journeys, analytics, really understanding our customer, really answering the needs of our customers. So much more than just simply say, okay, let's measure the NPS, let's do customer experience. This is basically my idea in the future. Yeah. So we should evolve. We must evolve to customer intelligence.
And we will evolve. And I think it's a very good point. You asked a provocative question.
Yeah.
Here's a provocative answer in two parts. The first part is that companies typically look at things that are interesting to them. So is my customer satisfied? Because if they're not satisfied, they'll probably go away. Does my customer have a high NPS score, Net Promoter Score? And if they do, they might tell other people how good we are. Does the customer have an appropriate customer effort score? Because we want things to be easy, but not too easy. None of those things look at things from the world of the customer. So I think one thing we need to do is to bring the customer inside the company so we can understand customers and how they behave, not only the things we talked about jobs and outcomes in the past, but also, or a short while ago, but also to build a balanced scorecard for customers. So how do customers perceive their experiences and the services that sit inside them. Because if we start to understand things from the customer's perspective, then we can tie those things up from the corporate perspective and we go forward in a much better way together. The second part is, which is also quite provocative, customers are not the reason why we're in business. It is not. We're in business to make money. We're in business to make profit, first and foremost. Shareholders have priority over customers or suppliers or other stakeholders. If we don't understand that, we're not going to be in business very long for a variety of reasons. So the art of running a business, as you know and I know very well, is the art of making trade-offs. How much can I give to customers and what can I get in return? If I give too much, I become a charity. I go out of business. If I give too little, customers won't like us and they'll go away and we go out of business. So it's achieving that dynamic, complicated set of trade-offs built around what customers want and what we want, and how we go about delivering that through the experience of the services that the experience sits underneath the services. That's the art of going, this is the answer to your provocative question. Build a customer scorecard around this customer's view, and then integrate it into a complicated or a thorough dynamic trade-off model to understand if I do this, this is the result for the customers and for shareholders as well. That's a very tough task.
No, I remember, when I built my first, let's say, customer feedback management,
yes.
when more or less 15 years ago, it was so appreciated. I presented several times, but at the end of my presentation, I always said, remember, cash is king, but our shareholders are more important than the cash. So customer is king, but cash is more king than the cars.
There's a famous scene in a Tom Cruise film, Jerry Maguire, where he's an agent for sports stars. And Cuba Gooding is a sports star he wants to represent, and he's shouting on the telephone, "Show me the money!"
Yeah.
When I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of my jobs there was I was the lead trainer for CRM training for all of the consultants in the European practice. So I'd train all the new consultants at PwC in CRM, and I had them in expensive hotels. In the afternoon, one of the training courses, which lasted a week, in the afternoon, one of the training courses, shouting at the top of their lungs, "Show me the money," because that's what CRM is about, and that's what CX is about. It's not about customers, not about stakeholders. It's about money and shareholders.
Yeah. I see here, your background in telecommunications, because I came from the same background, and we know very well, that we need to show the money at the end of the day. So
we have based management to do that, which is a derivation of value-based management. So we know how these things work, and we know how to make them work.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have, by chance, if you have it, some good example now of companies that they start really, to embracing the view in the future, or do you think at the moment no one is really going that direction?
So, no, but I think there are. I'm always reluctant to name individual companies, but let's use an example.
Yeah.
I worked last year with an Australian bank, or Australian insurance company and bank, and the work we were looking at was to do with innovation. And if you go to a typical UK bank or a German bank, where I'm sitting at the moment, then you want to go talk about a mortgage. They'll tell you one thing you need to know about a mortgage, and probably insurance they want to sell you to go on to go at the back of the mortgage as well. But that's all they'll do. And if you map out the journey, you might find that they're involved in maybe a third or a quarter of the interactions in the life cycle of owning a property. And they're the only thing to do with mortgage and paying a mortgage off. This Australian bank was very different. So they had created a portal, a multi-sided market platform, where you could do all the things around getting a mortgage and getting insurance, but also if you wanted to get a solicitor to do the conveyancing, to actually go to the legal process of selling a house, they had a list of approved solicitors. If you wanted an estate agent to find a new house, they had a list of those as well. But it didn't stop only with the selling things around mortgage. If you want a removals firm to move your furniture, they had that too. If you want somebody to repair your picket fencing and paint it white or whatever color you prefer, All of those things are available in this multi-sided market portal, full of an ecosystem of partners all around this life job of manage my home. So my UK banks and German banks are managing my mortgage. The Australian banks about managing my home. Guess which one's more attractive to me?
Definitely the second. Uh, okay, Graham, we can stay here hours, I think, to discuss about this topic. But I want to ask you something, about the European Customer Experience Organization. You are one of the founder and an ambassador of the ECXO, and yeah, I wanted you to explain me a little bit what's your involvement, why, and what is the reason really to become a member of the organization?
Okay, that's a good question. So ECXO is a platform for people in Europe who are interested in the customer experience and taking it further. So there may be practitioners like you and I, and consultants and what have you, but there are also companies that might want to discover how they can improve things for their own company, for their own customers, or might actually have offered things to sell and offer to members of the ECXO. So the ECXO is a platform where people are interested in customer experience within Europe or more broadly go to contribute, to learn, and to benefit from that camaraderie that you get when you start to share things with other people. There's a series, there are regular posts on there, so there's lots of good content. There are some good conversations going in the comments around the content, which I find to be more valuable than the content itself. And I contributed a lot of content and conversational material as well. So it's in a nutshell, if you're in Europe, interested in the customer experience, this is a place to go and join. It's free to join, to go and join and to engage with other members, other practitioners, and learn and teach other people as well.
Okay, thank you, Graham. So I remember, if you want to become a member of the European Customer Experience Organization, the website is ecxo.org. The membership is free, so please feel free to go to the website and become a member. As Graham said, there is a lot of value exchanging with your peers in the European customer experience world. So go there and get your free subscription. Graham, thanks a lot to talk at the CX Punk Chat. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Graham Hill at the CX Punk Chat, brought to you by the European Customer Experience Organization, and see you soon at the next episode.
Thank you, Federico.
Thank you.